So back in 1994, Toyota launched the RAV4. And I actually learned to drive on one, a 1998 version. That car was so old that it had towards 2000 on the license plate. And actually in 1997, Toyota made a fully electric RAV4, but you couldn't really buy it. It was like a fleet only model. But the fact that this thing's a hybrid actually isn't a foreign concept for the Toyota RAV4. Now, if you have the 4th generation of the RAV4, which was a decent looking car, you're gonna get some pretty meaningful updates on this car apart from a cosmetic change to the exterior and interior. First of all, you get a lower belt line around the windows there, which means you get better visibility. You get tucked in window wipers, which means, again, improved visibility, and lowered side mirrors, again, improving visibility. So it's gonna be an easier car to look out and hopefully avoid any weird, awkward moments with blind spots. Now, this car is 57% stiffer than the 4th generation car, which means it should be better at handling. Now, this car here came out in 2019, but then this specific model was given an update around 2021, which is why it looks like this now, which means you get things like LED projector headlights, and you also get things like USB-C ports. So if you have an early generation 5th gen car, I don't think you have to upgrade into something like this, so you don't have to jump on that wait list. But if you have a 4th gen car, there are some meaningful updates here that means that you definitely should jump into one of these if you're thinking about updating your RAV4. Now, like I mentioned, this is the 2nd most affordable model that you can pick out of the RAV4 lineup. It can go way up into the top of the range Edge models, but this is the GXL, and that means this thing as a front wheel drive hybrid will set you back just over $47,000 drive away. And I like the front of the RAV4. It does look kind of mean. It looks a bit more aggressive than previous generation cars. I like this gray grille that you get here, and of course you get a blue Toyota badge to let everyone know that you're driving around in a hybrid, and there's plenty of plastic cladding here. Now, I'm a big fan of the side profile of this car, but first of all, what are you getting? You're getting dark 18-inch alloy wheels wrapped in a Bridgestone rubber. You're getting plenty of plastic around your wheel arches and side skirts, and also these inbuilt little mud flaps, which look quite aggressive. And you've also got these nice looking wing mirrors here, and you do get plastic pieces here instead of gloss black plastic, because these are usually fingerprint magnets, but here with this plastic here, they don't really do that, which I appreciate quite a lot. You're getting some chrome around the top as well, and also these black roof rails. Now, you're getting touch sensitive controls for your locking and unlocking here at the front door, which feels a lot better than a button, just looks a bit more premium. And now, if you don't like the look of this car, you can actually get a body kit out of Japan called the Mitsuri Buddy, and that is designed to just sort of replace all the body panels here and make this thing look like an original Chevy Blazer. Now, this isn't a plug-in hybrid, just in case you're wondering. This is a normal Toyota hybrid, which means you just put fuel in it and you let the car's computer decide how to use the battery and electric motor on board. But you can get a plug-in hybrid version, but not in Australia just yet. That's called the RAV4 Prime, and that thing is very popular in the States. It puts over 300 combined horsepower from its electric motor, all-wheel drive system, and petrol motor, so it's a quick car. It means it'll go 0 to 100 kilometers an hour in just 6.2 seconds, which is one of the quickest Toyotas you can actually buy. Now, at the back, you do have this little rooftop spoiler, you do have a rear wiper, you have some normal looking rear lights, nothing too special going on there, a RAV4 badge as well, and you've also got another hybrid badge over here and plenty of plastic cladding. And also do like this gray here in the rear bumper that sort of matches the grille up front. And you do get 2 very real exhausts at the back to sort of finish off the look of this car. Now, the rear tailgate, you're not going to find a spare tire on the back like you used to on the original RAVs. They got rid of that a little while ago, but I wish they would bring it back, because they're really leaning into their heritage with things like the new Land Cruiser Prado and all those sorts of cars, and doing outlandish designs with something like the CHR. So in order to differentiate the RAV4 from, say, something like the Toyota Corolla Cross and the Toyota Kluger, I really wish they would make this a little bit more rugged and offer a rear tire option here on the tailgate. I think that would be kind of cool. But this is a manually operated tailgate for this model of the RAV4, and you have some nice big grab handles to throw that closed, and you have over 500 liters of boot space here in the back. It's a lot. Look, I can just jump in here with ease, and it's not a problem. You have so much storage back here. You have a little storage pocket on the side to store some loose items, and a 12-volt socket as well. And then underneath the boot floor, you do have a spare tire and everything you need to change one. But it would be cool to be able to take that out, give you a tiny bit more boot space, but then put that on the rear to make this thing look really quite unique. And then this also does have a cargo cover here, which you can pull out just like that, nothing too complicated, and the seats do fold down in a 60-40 split. You get 2 USB-C ports in the back, you get your own air vents, and then there's a vent on the right side of the car, which is for your battery cooling. So just try not to block that, but at least it's not up high up where people would normally put blankets and stuff like that for long trips, like it used to on previous generation Toyota hybrid cars. We have some cool speakers that say RAV4 and have a cool design. This car sort of runs with like a star pattern satin that sort of, you can find these rear cloth seats, and also as a print on the rear speakers. You do have your own sort of storage here on the side, but again, I don't know why this is like a trend in Toyotas, but they have very small rear door bins, and it's the same with the Toyota RAV4 here. Your rear windows go down all the way, which is great, so you can get lots of air here in the back. Now, yeah, it's a bit of a throwback with these cloth seats. They feel pretty nice and pretty comfortable, and I'm pretty comfortable here as a 5'11" adult. Plenty of feet room, plenty of knee room, plenty of headroom, so it's going to be no dramas for adults to sit in the back here. Your rear ISOFIX points are tucked in between the cushions here, so easy to access there. You do have an armrest here with some more cup holders, yeah, but you can't fold down this middle seat independently, which I find a little annoying. And this middle seat's okay to sit in, it's still very comfy and very spongy, unlike other middle seats of satin, so that's very unique how comfortable that is. And then we have a rear light here. And here in the front, I was actually pleasantly surprised by the design up here. I haven't really spent too much time in the new RAV4. It's my first time really driving one as well. So I really like the materials. There's lots of soft touch materials, but again, plenty of plastics because it's meant to be a bit more rugged, and also this is the more affordable model. We have some storage up here above the glove box, which I really quite like, and then we have glove box storage there, but that's where you're gonna find your manual, and you can probably take that out just to give yourself a bit more storage. Your bins on the side, again, are a bit slim, but you do have some very large cup holders and center storage here, and again, more storage underneath the climate controls up front with a wireless phone charger, a USB type A port, and also a big 12-volt socket barrel. Now you have even more places to charge here. You have two USB-C ports inside the center console here, and it's a nice, I really like the leather type material they've used on here. It's nice and soft, and it feels just a bit more premium than cloth, and you do have plenty of storage in there as well. Now our steering wheel is telescopically adjustable, so you can get nice and comfortable with ease, and these seats, again, these cloth seats are just, basic cloth seats and pretty comfortable as well. Nothing to complain about there. And you can see that star pattern I was talking about on the speakers up front, here in the seats, and also on the charging pad. We have a touchscreen here, which sort of sits above the dashboard, which I'm not a huge fan of. And you can very clearly tell this is the more affordable screen because it's got a huge amount of bezel around the actual touchscreen part. I'll get more into this in a second. We have air vents down here. We have our big climate controls here. I love the feeling of the rubber dials around for the controls for your climate controls, and also the volume knob. It just looks fantastic, and they feel great too, and it's all physical as well. If you're just someone who hates the feeling of haptic buttons or any sort of touchscreen controls, you have your traction control off button here, but you have a blank switch on the right side, a nice chunky shifter here. You have your controls for your car, and a tiny little storage area, but I'm guessing that's a blank button. But it's just interesting that it's like a tiny little storage area where you could put, like, maybe, I don't know, pieces of gum. That's about it. Doesn't really fit anything else. Now the gauge cluster here is feeling old compared to something like the Toyota Corolla Cross. It's using a basic small digital display, which is just using your display as a speedometer, and then you have your actual analog dials on the left to show you your charge, your eco, or your power modes, depending on how much throttle you're using, and also you got your fuel and temperature gauges over on the right. This screen is not very customizable. You can go through some basic instrument options, but there's nothing too crazy. It's just all trip information and battery information. And then something I found a bit annoying is that there's no obvious big digital speedometer. You have to rely on the actual analog reading, which it's not my favorite thing, especially when you've got a screen here. I don't know why you wouldn't use it to read out a more accurate digital speedometer. Now this screen here, I was immediately greeted with the fact that this car's subscription has ended. Okay, interesting for a brand new car. So it says tap the button below to keep using navigation. So if you want to use navigation inside your car, Toyota have locked it behind a subscription paywall, which is absolutely annoying, especially when it seems like this car's got the hardware to run navigation, but they're making you pay to actually access it, because you can just use your phone through Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which you can do wirelessly or through a wire. So just do that instead. Now you've got your media controls here, you've got phone controls, you've got your car controls here, which is really just trip information and seeing your energy flow of your battery and your motor and all that. You do have a voice assistant here as well, but I do really like the fact that we have a physical volume knob here. It's really handy, it's close to the driver. Awesome, love that. But first we've got to talk about how this thing drives. Now, this thing feels a little bit similar to the original Toyota RAV4 that I actually learned to drive on. That was a early 90s car, and yeah, I had a lot of fun in that 3-door little machine. But this thing is quite a bit different. It's got a 2.5 litre naturally aspirated 4-cylinder under the bonnet, pushing 160 kilowatts, which is 217 horsepower, and just over 220 newton meters of torque. And that motor is paired up to a little 1.6 kilowatt hour battery that actually allows you to get pretty good fuel fuel economy. Now, claimed fuel economy is pretty conservative, but currently I'm getting around 6.1 liters per 100 Ks as a current test on this car, but you can easily get a little bit lower than that if you're not so heavy on the throttle. Now, if you're looking for a connected driving experience, it's not really going to be found here. You're going to get yourself a pretty numb steering feel, you're going to get yourself nice comfortable suspension, and that's about it. It's not really anything that's designed to be too sporty, even though you can change your own gears in a sport mode by shifting the gear over to S mode. But the thing is, this uses an eCVT transmission, which means it really only has one gear, but it will simulate some other gears to help rev out that motor to get as much power as you can out of this thing. Now, cornering, it's actually pretty flat until it starts to sort of topple over to the side as it sort of reveals the fact that it's a higher riding SUV, but it's just a really easy car to drive. The noise insulation from this cabin is actually okay, as you can hear. It's not much coming into the cabin, and that's because this car is now running on battery power only as we go down this hill. Now, brakes are actually really easy to modulate on this thing. They're pretty soft, and so there's nothing too difficult about that. The thing with the Toyota RAV4 Hybrid is that it's just a very easy and docile car to drive. Getting up to highway speeds isn't too bad either, and taking off from a standstill is actually all right thanks to that hybrid battery, and that's usually why people are going to opt for a RAV4 Hybrid over a normal petrol RAV4, is because one, the fuel economy, and two, the fact it feels just a little bit faster and a little bit quieter to drive around. Now, you can just cruise around on EV power alone by pressing a big EV button, but it's pretty conservative. So if you're driving at normal speeds, the car will decide to turn that off for you. But if you're going very low speeds and say bumper to bumper traffic, the car will let you drive in EV mode, which is good just to save a little bit of fuel. Now, visibility in the RAV4 is actually pretty good, but even though this is the second most affordable model of the RAV4, the GXL, it's actually decent. Like, I don't really feel like I'm in too much of a base model. The cloth seats are a dead giveaway, but the stitching's nice to look at, and the leather wrapped or leather material wrapped steering wheel does feel quite nice, especially with the stitching on it as well. And then you do get this partially digital driver's display, which is, yeah, it's okay, but I think I prefer the fully digital one you get on the higher trims of, say, something like the Toyota Corolla Cross, but hopefully that's an update that will come along to the Toyota RAV4. Now, the suspension is just so nice and just comfortable. This is just an easy car to jump into, daily drive. You don't have to spend too much on fuel. You don't have to think too much about driving it. You can just enjoy yourself and just drive along. It's easy to make phone calls in here because you've got your touchscreen here in the middle, and navigate Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. It's all done there. It's a really easy car. Now, in terms of just like handling and all that, yeah, on like highway speeds, it's just sort of floating along. And then through these corners here, it does have like a bit of a delayed feel, so you got to turn the wheel and then the car will pull through. So yeah, if you're looking for a better handling car, it might not be the RAV4, but of course this is meant to be more of like an adventure car, so it does feel like something, and thanks to that extra ride height you've got on a RAV4, that you can just easily go onto a gravel road and you don't have to think twice about any sort of ground clearance issues. Although, since this is the two-wheel drive model, you might have to be a little bit worried about how far off-road you go, because you might not have all the grip that you can find in something like the all-wheel drive RAV4. But I think the biggest thing that I love about this car is that you can just drive around that EV power alone just by cruising at lower speeds. But then if you want to dig into the power, it's actually not too slow. But this isn't the RAV4 Prime, which is the plug-in hybrid that the US gets. We don't get that here just yet, which is a very quick car. But look, it's a very easy car to drive. It hasn't really changed much in terms of how accessible it is, and it doesn't matter who in your family drives it or who you ever give your car to borrow. It's just like a car you don't really have to think about driving. And some people, that might sound a bit depressing to say, but it's really just a simple car. It's not trying to do anything clever. It's not trying to have any sort of special modes, customizable modes, anything like that. It's for people who just need a spacious and somewhat off-road capable, like a little bit higher riding SUV with a bit more boot space. It does the job really well. Now, is it worth waiting for this car? Well, it absolutely is. It's reliable, it's fuel efficient, it's spacious, and it's easy to drive. And the real shame is that no real other cars can come close to how good Toyota's hybrid system is. They can sort of feel similar, but this is a really seamless way of integrating a battery and motor and giving you a nice fuel efficient car, meaning the fuel you put into this thing will last just a lot longer than a traditional petrol small SUV. But then here's the thing, Toyota's promising to try and bring those wait times to just over a year for these hybrid models, so fingers crossed cost that comes into effect sooner rather than later. Now, thank you so much for watching. My name's Cameron. If you want to see more Toyota hybrid reviews here on this channel, make sure you hit subscribe and let me know down in the comments below. Would you wait up to 2 years for a car like this? Well, because I'm not sure if I would. I might just look for alternatives if it's just waiting that long for a car like this, or I might just go and buy a used one. Let me know what you would do down below. Make sure you review your car on productreview.com.au. Follow us on TikTok and Instagram to see more behind the scenes car content, and I'll see you in the next one.